right, then I'll call the meeting to order at 8:31. Hi, Bob.
Morning.
Hey, Bob.
Certification of meeting law requirements have been met. This agenda was posted on November 30th. Roll call of committee members. Nutter here.
Becker here.
Waldera here.
Dietrich here. Adams here.
Sorgi here.
Thank you. I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
I so move.
Is there a second?
All seconds.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Has everybody had a chance to review the minutes from our November 7th meeting? Any comments, questions, corrections? I didn't note any, okay. I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes from the November 7th, 2023 meeting.
Motion.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. I will set aside 2 minutes, 3 minutes for public comment. The phone number to call in, if anybody's out there listening, is 715-538-1894. And anybody at this table, I would entertain if you have public comment or comment about anything. Nothing? Nothing, anything happening? Any events? Lots of stuff?
Hopefully we're gonna continue to get a little bit more snow.
Snowmobile. I think the highway department, County Road D, was in perfect condition to go down that big hill to hit 53. Appreciated that. Do you come that way?
No, I come down 50.
Oh, yeah, you come down 53. So kudos to them. We're on air, right? Yes. We are. Doreen, do you have anything you want to comment on? No. Okay, well, since there's nothing happening, I will end public comment and move to agenda item number 7, 2023 budget update. That would be you, Mr. Corman?
I guess,
Or Mr. Carlson, or both
Yeah.
of you?
That's that side.
Okay.
I wasn't expecting that, but,
It's on the agenda, my dear.
yeah, just was expecting Dave to do that, but,
You're in charge, so
I'm
we'll,
gonna have enough on.
but essentially, this is kind of the, in your attachment, is we're doing well on our budget, and, both budgets, so we'll be coming in under, and if anyone has questions on any specific lines in there, but all the information's there with what we've budgeted for 2023 and where we are spending-wise through November.
okay.
So we will overall be come in under budget for 2023.
Congratulations.
Do you know, my understanding through some of the other committee work anyway is that a lot of times there's bills that come in kind of late in the year. Do you know if we expect any big dollar expenditures through December?
We do not expect anything unusual, big dollars amount. Anything that comes in, yeah, we're good. We're good. We're good.
So then the money that we've managed to save goes to the general fund?
Yes, it does for the economic development budget and tourism budget.
And parks just goes into our
And the parks
rolling,
is non-lapsing, that carries over.
doesn't matter where the category is of the.
The whole budget is non-lapsing.
Okay. Great.
We like that. Anything else? Any questions? I should start serving coffee at this meeting. Everybody's kind of like, We'll move on to number 9, heating for park shelter, cost discussion, possible action.
So I was going to prepare a packet for all of you on this so you can see it, but I'm going to pass it around after I introduce it. So basically, the background is that the PTED Committee previously approved spending, I think it was up to $3,500 to install a gas heating source in the class shelter. And then for various reasons, that project didn't come to fruition. I wasn't in charge of that at the time, so I'm just saying. But this fall, I had reached out to Slobby Electric about providing a bid for installing electric heat in the class shelter. And then they submitted a bid, and it's all attached in this packet that I'll pass around. Subsequently, I also looped back to a couple other businesses that Bob recommended to ask if they wanted to submit proposals for the job. We did receive 2 proposals from Fran's Heating and Cooling and Iona's Heating and Air Conditioning. They're also attached to this. The summary is this. Slobby submitted a bid of $2,196.34 to install 2 electric furnaces, one in the kitchen area, one in the dining, what I call the dining area. I don't know what the correct term is. So that's an electric heat source. Fran's Heating and Cooling bid was $2,500 for LP, furnace, and then Iona's Heating and Air Conditioning was $2,850 for LP. Now, my understanding is that both of those LP heating projects would require either the placement of a gas line from the existing LP tank by the bathrooms, essentially, to the class shelter, and that could cost up to $1,000, or the alternative would be the county would get another LP tank to be placed outside the class shelter, which then we'd have to keep filled as well as the existing tank. So my recommendation is that we accept the proposal from Slobby Electric. It's a lower cost up front. We avoid the thing of either paying another $1,000 to extend a line or to have to keep a second tank filled when it may not get used very much. Clearly, the tank over at the bathhouse, to keep running hot water and stuff like that, takes a bit. So I'm going to pass this around, and that's my recommendation, and I'm sure there's going to be discussion on it, so I'll just turn that over to you. But this is the due diligence. We got 3 different bids.
That was the lowest.
Correct. $2,196, and that's all in.
Okay.
No second tank, no gas line.
Right.
Yeah,
I realize that utilization is unknown, so this is probably
right.
not even a realistic question, but is there any way to estimate about how much electric we would be using to operate these on a annual basis?
Not a clue, really. And, I know there's been discussion of like gas is cheaper. I'm not saying that's not correct or it is correct. What I do know about electric and, LP rates is both fluctuate, that sometimes LP gas can fluctuate a lot more than electrical. And either way, I just don't feel like this heat in the class shelter is going to get used a lot. It might in the spring, it might in the fall, early spring, late fall. And I really think, even if there was a cost savings, per whatever you would measure it for gas, the payback is going to be over quite a bit of time. If it is even cheaper. And I kind of like the idea personally that, we have it kind of zoned that way. So if somebody, wanted to just meet in that kitchen area, small meeting room area, you could close the door and just turn on, one of the heaters. But anyways, it's not my decision, it's yours. And so I'm putting it out there for direction and action.
One of the things that's maybe relevant and maybe kind of not, I guess it just depends, but we're opening up the park in the wintertime now for snowmobiles and other recreation. So would we also potentially open the class shelter during that time to be like a warming area or an area that people could gather?
That was not in my plans for for the winter. Because then we would have to have staff out there, and we'd have to have staff out there or somebody out there to open and close it at certain times. And
And clean it.
and clean it, right. So, I mean, that's certainly, let's put it this way, not for this winter. It's something we look at in the future.
You know, one thing we have to remember is the building isn't necessarily built to be a four-season structure. I mean, the garage doors, there's multiple garage doors, those are not insulated. I'm not sure what insulation's in the wall or the ceiling, I have no idea. But just the fact that those garage doors are not insulated, if we were to heat it continuously through the winter, we would lose a lot of heat.
Yeah, I could see Supervisor Waldera it being open, maybe if we did a special event out there. You know, like if we were gonna have some specific event, maybe we would do it, but otherwise, no, just for the reasons Mike said. And I've only had one request for like utilization of it in December, and that was one of the Boy Scout groups. And I told them straight up, I said, there is no heat. I said, we might have heat in the future, but I still think that, you know, it's prudent for us to not be using that past November. Both of the marks are done with their seasonal employment out there.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you, yep, and that's understandable. I just think it's important to look futuristically also.
Right.
And so, that might change, right? The
Sure.
utilization over the winter. And maybe not, given that we don't know the insulation and all of those things. What I am wondering with the electric, or with the furnace, on the quote from, do these quotes include any cooling?
No, this was strictly a heating project.
The only cooling there would be is if you shut the heat off in the summer and just operate, just to put it in fan mode,
Fan mode, okay.
circulate the air.
I had just seen on Slobby's quote here, it said furnace/AC unit.
Yeah, that's it's just a heating unit.
I agree with you, Supervisor Waldera, that I think we need to, you know, maybe look at some strategic planning for the use of the Class Center if we're gonna have the park open in the winter, to have the shelter accessible for events. But I think this summer this winter is our test, just to see how much use it gets with people coming out to cross-country ski or snowshoe or walk their dogs or whatever, and then look to the following winter how we might have it more accessible for special events and stuff. Because this is the first time
Yes.
we're gonna have the road plowed and let people know that they can use it for, you know, some outdoor activities. But if we wanted to do something like, which was done, I think a couple of years ago, it was a morning thing on Saturday, and I think we did it mostly outside, but we had rolls and hot chocolate, and people came, and you know, quite a few people came. But it would have been fun to have a warmer place to go inside. But I think we need to think about that, you know, to how we're gonna plan to utilize it more in the winter.
Yes.
What are the BTUs, on the electric? It says,
I'm not sure, Adi, it
it
wasn't.
doesn't give it to.
It wasn't listed. But they did come out and took a look and submitted a bid that I presume will heat those areas, you know, with two heaters, yeah.
I know, but you still don't have apples to apples. The other one is 75, the other one's 80. One is 75,000, the gas, and the other one is 80. But it doesn't tell you any kind of BTUs on the electric.
I think it would be fair to assume, I hope I'm saying this, because I hate to assume, but I think it would be fair to assume that whatever Slobby bid is what's necessary to heat the space.
Yeah, that was my assumption too, I mean,
Did the other two people who bid come out and look at the shelter? No, they just,
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
They-
And I think
that they-
before-
Okay, Bob had the initial conversations
with
with
Bob,
them.
okay,
Not with
No,
Slavic.
he did with Iona's.
With Iona and Franz.
okay.
One of the things, you're gonna have a lot faster recovery with gas heat versus electrical. Electrical is more radiant style. Gas is, you're gonna have some air movement, and it's gonna heat up faster.
Right.
And the other thing that I had thought about, when we decided to put a separate tank in, you're able to control it. For some reason, say you were gonna rent the shelter out in the wintertime, let's say $200, and just use that as a magical figure. Well, when you have your own tank there, you're gonna be able to see how much fuel that you're using out of that tank, and then all of a sudden, somebody wants to rent it again for 200. Well, we gotta adjust it a little bit more, because we'll actually know how much
Right.
fuel is coming out of that separate tank. In that, and why run, 400 feet of pipe if you don't have to?
Yeah.
Well, and I guess the other thing that I think about with that electric is that although I'm sure the circumstances would be rare, if there is an electrical outage, you don't have heat. So in the case of, an electrical outage in the shelter, I mean, the potential of people either waiting for the electric to come back on or dispersing or whatever, at least they would still have a heat option with the, I mean, I think I'm correct in that.
Isn't there like a electrical ignition on gas heaters? So if the electricity goes out, you don't have heat either.
I don't think your furnace works without
No,
electricity.
our
Yeah,
furnace-
I mean,
our furnace doesn't work.
in the bids on the gas furnaces, they talked about wiring and stuff too. So I think every gas furnace, I think a gas furnace,
Needs
that's
electric?
wired like that would,
Okay. All right, well then,
same as your
Farm I
home
work on,
furnace.
They have a gas furnace in their barn and the house, and they still need an electric, it should be the same thing.
I guess I thought once it was up and running, it was up and running. Okay.
Shuts off.
Unless you had a generator.
Okay, never mind. Strike the comment.
I still like the idea of gas. We approved gas. We talked about electric way back, and that was the kind of the avenue we were going up.
Yeah, I kinda-
It's a little more expensive, but I like gas heat better than
Me
electric heat.
too.
And I do think that there's validity in the quickness of how, getting that up to temp
Rodney
and,
said, yeah.
And we have about $3,600 or a little bit more from the Waldera donation for improvements to the Claw shelter. So this would be coming from, a bunch of this money would be coming from a donation.
And being that it's only one furnace, that Olson's are, the Malashevskis are still thinking of the fans, that they might put some fans up yet. And if they do that, it'd give you all the air movement you need.
Right. I'm leaning towards gas too, but are there more discussions regarding this?
If we do gas, it's a little bit more expensive. You're saying it'd be another $1,000 on top of what they bid, or is that all included?
Oh, no, that's on top of it, so,
Oh, it'd be,
or
No.
it's that or,
A tank.
excuse me, it's that or having a separate tank, and then we have to keep that tank full, so there's some investment, up front with putting gas in that tank, that we don't know how long. Again,
about the
I don't have a horse
line?
I don't have a horse in the game. I'm just presenting it as this was, this is the way the bids came and this was what your cost would be. And the other thing is, I don't know at this point. So I know with the electric, we could get the electric heat put up probably in the next 2 weeks. With the gas at this point, with putting in a line, getting a tank out there, I don't know when that would occur, burying a line from the existing tank. If that's the route we went, that may still be able to get done this year, I'm not sure. But that doesn't, we're not gonna have a need for it this winter, so if it happened in the spring, we're not missing out on anything.
I think they could still do it in the winter. People build houses in the winter and have to have gas lines put in. But,
Yeah, the frost is not
Yeah.
deep, if at all, in the ground
Right.
at this point.
I think it's important to think futuristically, I really do. And if we were to do that, and think about the use of the cloth shelter in the winter,
Right.
pending insulation and all of those other things I realize are issues. But say we do find that the usage is high and that we want to be able to use it in the winter, then having a heating source that can have a quick ramp-up time is really important. Like, I can see where it would be less important in the spring and the fall that we have a quick heat source. But if we do want to think about potentially using it in the winter, then now we are wanting something that's going to heat up more quickly. So I really am actually in favor of the gas.
So
because
the other thing I'll point out is, you know, it was kind of pulling teeth a little bit to get actual written proposals here, but I got them. You know, apparently we didn't have that in the past, or my understanding was we didn't have that in the past. So we do have it, and I feel confident that, you know, any one of them that you choose will be able to get the work done. So if all we need is direction. Pick a vendor, and we'll get them out.
Remind me, which was the cheaper of the two gas quotes?
Franz,
Friends.
By like
That was
$300.
$2,500, and Iona's was 28. Is that Ben? Iona?
There's
Yeah.
5,000 BTUs difference in the furnace, is that the
That's right.
cost?
That's the only difference in the bids.
Put the bigger furnace in then, if you're gonna put money.
Yeah, if we're gonna think futuristic, that would be, you know,
Both of the heating people had said that the supply with gas, said there'll be enough BTUs there with the door open that'll heat the kitchen. It's not gonna make it, you know, super hot, but it's gonna be comfortable in there. There'll be enough air movement.
Does this furnace hang from the ceiling, Bob?
Yes.
oh, those are nice, because then it blows. Because
And
they
where-
use the same things for air conditioning that hang up in the ceiling. And
Where it would be proposed to be put in is in the northeast corner of that shelter, which would be in the far corner facing the river toward the bathhouse.
Oh, okay.
Must have lost her.
Are we ready to,
Let's just,
Oh.
maybe Doreen has something she'd like to add.
Doreen, were you able to hear our discussions about electric versus gas heat in the class shelter?
I did hear most of it, yeah.
Do you have an opinion one way or the other?
Pardon?
Do you have an opinion, even though you're not on the committee, but you're always here and a big supporter of our park and our shelter? Do you have an opinion one way or the other?
I do not, that's left up to the committee.
Okay, thank you. Are we ready to vote on this?
Well, I'd like to make a motion
Okay, go right ahead.
to go with the Ione, I'm not sure if I'm saying that right.
Yep.
Iona's gas heat bid.
Okay. Is there a second?
Well, I'm sorry, let me finish that motion.
Okay.
With the addition of an additional tank at the Kloss Center, because I believe that we would be able to see what our expenses are in a better way for that
Is
purpose.
there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Did you meet with Ben? Did he come out?
He was there last year already.
Right.
And the reason this didn't get done is we lagged behind on supplying the plumbing.
Okay.
For the tank.
Okay.
Otherwise, it'd have been done already.
Okay. So,
And he was our first bid.
right, right. And we all said aye. Alrighty. So we're gonna go with Ione Heating and Air, and actually he services our furnace, and he's usually right there, or can tell us how to do it. Okay, great. Thank you for your movement in that direction to have us think. Sometimes we just think about today, and we need to like be more futuristic. I'm gonna throw it back to you, Dave, for a park update.
Sounds good. So I have several items I just wanted to briefly mention. The park plumbing has all been shut off now. We shut off the water to the campsites and the Kloss shelter back in late October. Left it on to the bathhouses because we had campers out there through gun deer season. The Tuesday after the gun season ended, Semmington Eberly came back out and closed up the rest of that. So that's all winterized now. As I said, the Marks in the Park, their last days was, I think, Saturday, Sunday. They worked on getting everything else winterized out there. So, again, in terms of camping and stuff, we're done. We had a pretty decent fall season with, I think, 5, extended hunter stays out there. We had some that weren't there the whole time, but were in for a week or two at a time. So that was a nice additional revenue source. I will be arranging to have porta potties brought in shortly here for the winter. A couple of them I think will be sufficient. We do have our new Parks and Rec coordinator starting on Monday next week. I think last month we reported to you that we had somebody and he was going to start, and then he abruptly told us he had changed his mind about the job. But we had 2 really good candidates, and I don't feel at all like we got a second choice with Jack Hay. He'll be starting next Monday. And Jack comes to us from the city of Chippewa Falls Parks and Rec Department. So really excited about that.
Dave, I have a quick question.
Yeah.
Did the potential candidate, did they say why they changed their mind? Was it, again, the money again?
It was, no, it had nothing to do with money. It had nothing to do with money. It was, I think, that just had second thoughts about leaving the area that he was in. That's all I'm going to say about it. So that kind of thing happens more often. I mean,
Yeah.
county board can tell
Yes.
you.
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can.
The rec pond update. So I think I mentioned last month that we were going to need to get an archaeological survey of the Schenk donated property to, to comply with DNR requirements that, for the grant we received. We did end up doing like a expedited bid request for that. I think when I came in last time, because we were trying to move quickly, I had a recommendation of somebody and they'd provided a quote of $4,400. We subsequently put out a 2-day turnaround bid request and got, I think it was 6 responses. And we ended up going with a firm out of Madison that did the survey within a week at a cost of $2,300. So I was kind of surprised that, because this is a busy time. They're trying to finish up this kind of work before the ground freezes. So the survey was done, I think, early of the week of Thanksgiving, and it turned up no archaeological significant stuff. And the reason that we had to do it was because a number of years ago, there were some artifacts, I think, found on the adjacent property, which I'm really curious about. I'm really curious about what they found and where that stuff ever went. But yeah, nothing on this. So the survey work was done, I think, in late October. So SRF Consulting had that subcontracted. So the next phase is really going to be to start working on the design for the rec pond. Any questions about, or?
Yeah, just your comment. I know Doc Detloff used to go out there and collect arrowheads and that. That used to be Indian campsites out in that area.
Right.
The other thing, just to comment on the development of that, we will be continuing farming the ground right above it. So I don't know if you need a berm or something up there because, we will be spraying chemicals and stuff up there in the corn and bean fields. So there wouldn't be any leakage of that into the pond.
Sure. That's a good point. And I mean, we're very early in the design process, and there will be, obviously with excavating a site for a pond, there's going to be dirt that could be put into a berm. And I'll pass that along as a note to the designers.
I think on the original plan, there was a development of a berm around that area where the pond is gonna be. Partly one for the road traffic and, you know, I mean, what you spray, Roundup, what is sprayed?
Well, yeah, Roundup would be
Roundup?
sprayed, yes.
Okay.
I think that in the original plan, it was that we hadn't yet had an actual, like, company come in and do the planning, but just that general park overview is where I
Right.
did remember seeing a berm, but I thought the berm was more on the highway
It
side.
is, to keep a barrier between the railroad tracks and this
Yeah, so we
area.
would want to make sure that, to your point then, that we consider along the, I don't know what side that is.
Yeah.
South side.
South side.
Yeah, we're just getting started with the design, so that's an excellent point, and we'll make sure that that's included.
Are you happy with our decision of how we're gonna use that?
Yes,
Okay,
yeah, that was in the original discussion.
okay, good, thanks.
Thanks for the donation of the land.
Yeah, really, thank
Is
you.
there any other discussion about this particular thing? Okay,
Oh, go ahead, Doreen, sorry.
Further,
Doreen, you're kind of breaking up. We didn't hear your question or comment.
maybe we'll step outside. Can you hear me better now?
Yes.
Okay. Is the Shank Brothers happen to be at the meeting?
yes,
Yeah,
Okay, a brief discussion with one of his brothers was to discuss the number of geese that might be attracted to the pond. So he said just keep that in the back of your mind.
The number of
because
what?
They do
Geese.
understand
Oh.
one of the adjacent fields.
okay, we'll also pass that along to the design engineers. Okay,
I mean, just so I understand what she said, worrying about geese
correct,
making our pond their home?
correct.
Okay,
And then is there crop damage concerns with that too? No.
okay.
All right, so the final thing I just have, and it's related to a little bit what we discussed previously, I'm going to be working on getting a press release out in the next week, just mentioning that Petrick Park, you know, that the gates will be open and that people will be welcome to come and spend time, you know, hiking, skiing, snowshoeing, whatever they wanted.
Excellent, that was one of my questions.
Yes.
Okay.
Good. I'm excited to see how much use actually happens.
Right. And come our next meeting in January, Jack will be here, and I'm excited to, you know, have him start working on, I mean, really the focus of that position going forward, besides management of the park, is going to be to actually be developing programming, you know, for this park and, you know, working with other communities, you know, to support their park and recreational activities as well.
Good.
And my understanding also is that this is our last meeting in this room.
Really?
Yes, that's what Kevin told me, is that come
Wow.
January, we will be over at the new building.
Oh, wow.
So,
The new boardroom updated, yay.
yeah. Okay, yeah, so that's all I've got for park update.
Okay, so now we'll just move to 10, and that's you again.
One question about the park
okay.
yet. Are we kind of waiting for the ground to stiffen up? Because I see the gate is closed across the park.
Oh, no, it's supposed to be open. I'll have to talk to those guys.
They're done, so.
You know,
We'll get somebody out there.
I've got keys.
Someone can go and open it?
I've got lots of, it'll be open by noon.
Okay.
The gate was closed, so I
Oh,
mean,
okay.
you know, I didn't know if we're waiting for the ground to stiffen
Yeah,
up
they may
or-
have, they may have just, it may have.
Inadvertently, if we've done it for
Yeah,
years. you
probably
know.
using last year's closing checklist. Need to update that.
They're used to it, yeah.
Thanks for letting me know. Economic development
You got one
update.
other question.
No, sorry.
I guess the other question I have is as far as fencing. Like, part of our proposal was the fencing to be done on the, I guess, the county's checkbook.
Sure.
So I
Yeah,
guess
I'm-
my question is, you know, is that gonna be done, when is it, scheduled to be done, or has that been looked into yet?
So the timeline that I'm envisioning right now is that the design gets done over the winter, and that we have a design that's ready to, bring back to the committee for a presentation, late winter, early spring. Then we'd have, the other thing is the consultant, part of their responsibility is putting it together so that it could be bid out. And that we would try to bid that out, in like an April timeframe or whatever. But that construction, I don't think would be prudent to start until after we get through August next year with Ashley and so on. Because clearly moving forward, we're gonna have to figure out a different solution on, the whole Ashley event and parking out there and stuff. So my idea is that we would look to start construction late August, do the excavating and all that stuff. But again, it's gonna.
You have a preference for the timing of that fence being prior to the rest of the work, or?
Well, I guess the only time frame that usually after the crops are off in the field there, usually we let our cattle in the field there. And that would probably be, September, October, November area. I think next year would be soybeans in that field, so we're probably looking at, taking off in October.
Let me get your contact information, or if you could just write it down and get it to me. Like I said, we're probably going to be yet this month or talking with SRF Consulting, just to review where we're at, and then I've got a list, berm, geese, fencing already to add to.
And cows.
Huh?
And cows.
And grazing, yeah.
Having a bath in the pond. Be nice.
Tom, has that been surveyed off, that it's
Yeah.
pretty close, that there are markers
Oh, yeah,
on the
there's
corners?
the markers are there, and actually last year already, we only put corn in up to the line.
Okay,
And so everything that is basically grassland now or hay ground is the parks.
okay. So basically where your consisting field is, that's the
Yeah,
property
and the
line?
markers are on each side, so it's all, just has to be a straight line.
East and
drawn.
west.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think the
Is there
important,
an issue with starting construction in August for you?
No,
Okay,
no,
so we just need to get the fence up and
yeah, right,
that
correct.
could go in anytime, right?
Right.
Well, we need to.
We'd probably include that in the bid, but we could, yeah.
I mean, that's not a
Because
big deal.
I just think legally there has to be a fence or, in that area. If there's a water thing, keep protection, safety. Go ahead, sorry.
I believe the donation agreement included us putting up egg fencing.
Right.
Right?
Correct.
We're not necessarily talking about a fence around the pond. We're talking about kind of moving the current fencing to the new property lines, and so,
Correct.
Okay.
yeah.
Alrighty. It's gonna be fun. I'm excited.
I got a question, Mr. Chairman. Who's given the architect direction here, or the designer? What kind of, you said we're gonna start designing it now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, who's telling them how big it is, or what to put in there? What parameters does he have to go by? Because we originally had that first pond, it was huge, way bigger than what we
Oh,
did.
you're talking about the long-term plan for the whole park that was
Yes.
done?
Well, yeah, so if he's gonna design something, don't we have to give him specifics?
Yeah, and we were planning on, is your question, Adi, really a request to be involved?
No, I just wanna know.
Okay.
Who's giving him and what specifications, so we can see what you guys are
Yeah,
recommending.
so.
we can discuss it here.
Yeah, so the discussion has been plus or minus a 1 acre pond on that site. So that would be the starting parameters for them to work.
Okay, is he starting plus 2 acres? I mean, a big one
No,
or a
it's,
small
it's,
one?
it's,
I
a
mean,
yeah.
It can't be over 1 acre.
It's about an acre. I think it was 1 point something. We really haven't got that specific.
It's generally an acre. We did not get down to tenths of an acre. It's not plus or minus a whole acre. It's about an acre, and we will have, I would think that we would, in the site plan's not gonna be just the pond. It's also gonna include the playground area and the area south of the claw shelter. So they're gonna come up with some concept plans, and we will bring those back to the committee.
So we'll decide, the committee will vote on it.
But we
I was
want,
giving them direction.
yeah, we want you to be able to see something and react to something. That's kind of the best way to get the feedback, and so we'll be doing that. And with the survey work that was done recently, that all helps to go into
And
that.
on the front end, to address that question, is if there's today at this meeting, some input that you'd like to provide, I think the general consensus, the way I see it from listening to these discussions in the past, has been, plus or minus 1 acre pond. We're not talking about having a bunch of fancy, features out in the water and all that stuff. It's, more of a, in keeping with the spirit of sort of like a country swimming pond. So there would be a beach, and we'd have the opportunity in the future, if we wanted to put in, floating water features or something like that, to do that. That really is something that could come, later or whatever. But it's kind of a basic multi-use recreational pond: swimming, kayaking, paddleboarding, whatever.
Just want to confirm then that the agreement with the property will be shared with the architect, so that anything that was in the agreement is ensured
Yeah.
to be
Right.
in place.
Definitely.
That would be the first step, okay.
Yep.
And I would assume the direction would come from you all,
Yeah.
and then you'll bring it to us and we'll like it or not.
And our new guy, Jack, that's starting, he oversaw the swim program for the city of Chippewa Falls. So
Oh,
I
good.
think we kind of mentioned in the interview that, this was something we were working on. And so I think he's going to have some good, input on that as well. So initially, Adi, it'll be, me, Mike, Jack, providing some input. But, I'm hoping that, by February at the latest, that, maybe we have a first draft of a plan that we could bring back. And then it's something that, if the committee has some additional directions on the design, that, they could make tweaks and have something final by April.
And I'd like to ask that the architect come to a meeting
Yeah.
also to be able to answer questions.
Yeah, though they'd be more than happy to do that. So,
Awesome.
all right. So, moving on, economic development update. Continue to work with the city of Arcadia, on their interest in doing something with housing. Subsequently, the city of Galesville is also interested in taking a look. They have a TIF district that is going to be expiring. Great, thank you. They have a TIF district that's going to be expiring, and the city of Galesville is looking at the option that municipalities have with a TIF district of collecting one final year of revenue that can be used for affordable housing initiatives. They're not sure they're going to do that. They may just close without having an extra year of revenue from that. Thank you so much. And so I have volunteered to facilitate a discussion, bring in some folks like we did in Arcadia from WEDC and from WEDA, and there's probably some other folks as well. So that'll be a special council meeting in Galesville, probably in January. But there is some momentum building with communities on housing.
One of the things that recently was brought to my attention is, in our particular area, is that over the years, what had been built as senior apartments have been transitioned into low-income family housing. And through my own personal experience recently, I have found that senior housing is quite lacking. And one of the challenges that has been mentioned through the state of Wisconsin, through the studies that have been done, is that we need more housing for that middle-income family. But one of the ways that I think might be a good approach in this area is to ensure there is enough senior housing for the folks who want to get out of their existing properties and have that additional support, which will then in turn open up that mid-level
Yes,
housing.
exactly.
But currently, the waiting list to get housing for seniors in Trempealeau County is quite high. At least in the avenues that I have so far pursued, which has involved Section 8 housing and some other things.
Right.
But that might be something to think about.
Yes, it's definitely, and I'm glad you brought that up, and I'm glad you're informing yourself, because that is one of the things that sometimes communities find the easiest to do, because you're exactly right, there's a lot of people that are aging in their homes, don't necessarily want to be there, but there's no alternatives. And to be honest with you, putting together a project to build senior housing is sometimes a lot easier to do than getting somebody to build, 10 residential homes, build.
Yeah, I would just caution that we don't overbuild senior housing,
Right.
because we're in a boom, but eventually that'll drop off.
Correct.
Although then those could be transitioned into, other uses too.
But that discussion was, that was part of the discussion we had in Arcadia last month, and it will be in Gillsville as well.
Perfect.
And I think both communities I think are probably looking moving towards doing housing studies for their specific communities. And that's a positive, because I think some of the stuff that those communities will learn won't be 100% applicable to other communities, but I think some of it will be.
I would just caution that doing a study solely on a community's needs it's a good thing, but I would expand that to include what the county, like the Trumbull County Housing Authority,
right.
what they're seeing, because
Sure.
a lot of seniors anyway are willing to relocate within Trempealeau County to different areas for that senior housing, and that may be overlooked if you just look within the
Yep.
immediate community.
Right, yeah, no, to be clear, those communities are looking, I'm not saying we're gonna do a housing study for them.
Right.
But, point taken.
But I would just encourage that,
Yeah.
I guess is what I'm saying. Yeah.
Definitely. I wrote that down
Thank you.
to check in with the housing authority too. Scheduled tomorrow to present to Osseo Chambers, pulling together a program for small businesses, existing businesses, just to know what economic development business assistance resources there are. So WEDC is going to be at that. I'm going to be at that. So I always like going out and doing those kind of programs. Just, tourism, marketing, our spend for the year is pretty much wrapped up. Last month you had the presentation from River Travel Media. I'm going to be working on finalizing an agreement with them for next year, figure out what we're going to do and at what level. So it's been pretty busy between parks, tourism, and economic development.
Good, lots getting done.
Really going to be glad when Jack comes on Monday.
I bet you will be.
Yeah,
No,
that's all I have unless there's any questions. It's like all Dave all the time, I'm sorry.
that's okay, you're fine. 11, healthcare bathroom updates.
Yeah, so I reached out to Jerry Dietz, left a message, and then I'll be honest with you, I got busy with other stuff and never heard back from him, so I'm not sure what the status is.
I believe it's done. I thought Stacy Klein was gonna have Jerry be here today, but,
You could reach out to her too, if you can't hear anything from him, she'd be
I
the next.
I think their bathrooms are, I think it was taken care of.
Well, they're gone.
They're
The-
gone.
The
yeah.
bathrooms are gone. I think the
Right.
question was, are they gonna put porta potties out there?
Yes, that was the question.
Okay,
Right.
So, like a just suggestion, if you can't reach Jerry Dietz, the next one, maybe reach out to Stacy, see what, she's the chairs.
Yeah,
I thought she was gonna have Jerry be here, but,
yeah. I'll give Jerry a call again.
Okay.
I'd like to hear what his plans are, but at the end of the day, I think that's their decision unless the committee is saying, we want to reach out to him and tell him we want him
And
to
the-
put bathrooms in. I just don't want to have bathrooms go in at our cost, because I think what we kind of settled on this summer was that the healthcare centers
yeah, but I
taking
think
care
they're
of
gonna
that.
move forward on that. And I believe I haven't driven by there, but I believe the, deck or whatever is
Yeah,
gone
all
as
gone.
well.
It looks
It's all
really
gone.
nice.
Yeah.
They did a little landscaping.
Uh-huh.
I think they seeded out there, it looks like,
Yep.
so.
Wow, that's cool.
Yep. Yeah, getting rid of the falling apart bathroom and the falling apart deck really makes that
Made a
look
difference.
quite a
It
bit
was
better.
overdue.
I'll have to drive by there and look.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's
great.
that.
All right. Wow. Future agenda items.
One of the things that we had talked about doing for this meeting that I see didn't make it to the future agenda items was to, I'm reminding myself, just give me a second, had to do with getting IT to the table.
That was for the
That's
January
January.
meeting.
Perfect.
And,
Okay.
and I've already had that discussion with the IT director, and he's going to make himself available. And to clarify, kind of past committee members' input was really not to get a new website for tourism, but to get a more visible link on the county website's homepage to get to the tourism section. That was that one particular committee member's input. She clarified that with me, and because, there's a lot of things on that homepage, and I think that was just a modest change that can increase the navigability of the website. So that's kind of where that was from.
And we were, as I recall from our discussion, it's confusing because there's an old website and a new website, and we can't get rid of the old website. Is there a reason?
We don't own the domain name.
Of the
is
old
my
county.
understanding.
Oh.
And I don't understand a lot of that stuff, but I just
Me
feel
either.
like
I'd
there
like to
has
just
to be
block that
some
out.
way to redirect, I would think, but I suppose
Well, and
not
there
if
is,
somebody's
and-
using that site.
I mean, if
but-
you think about when you've been looking for something and it comes up and it says this site has been redirected and you get a link to the new area, would be nice to have,
Yeah,
that
but
could happen.
I don't know the facts for sure,
Yeah, I
but
don't
my
understand.
understanding is we do not own that domain name. So we and I don't know what happened, but my understanding is we do not own the domain name, so we don't have control of it.
But we could reach out to whoever does own it.
I think that you can ask Tim, I think that's.
That's
Yeah,
a Tim
well,
question.
That's a good.
Anyway, just let me offer this. So, yeah, I don't know what the questions are for Tim. That's up to you guys. Just to be clear, I'm all in favor of doing whatever we can to come up with a better tourism website, something that's simpler to explain to people too, for marketing and so on. I've tossed a few ideas around because, to try to put something in a print advertising or social advertising, well, at least with social, people can click on it and go there. But, telling people go to, our website address, it's long. You have to, people, if I'm on the radio or if I was on a TV spot and we were trying to tell people go to whatever, not everybody knows how to spell Trempealeau if you say Trempealeau. So, that's a challenge we've got. River Travel Media, I've had some just, starter conversations with them. They do websites, but they're also a marketing firm. And I think they could help us with branding and giving us some direction on, what would be a good thing. I think the appropriate thing for IT, the questions would be, look, if we had a site designed on our own, it can't be hosted on the county server. Is that okay? One. And two, and this is a question I've already asked Tim about, and he said yes. Can we have, a separate name, from that long thing that would be something simpler? And we can register that. But the question is going to be about hosting it on the county website versus not. And, so I don't think our IT department is a resource to design a website. We'll just clarify that right up front. But I will have some conversations with River Travel about that. I think we'll make that part of our agreement with them for next year, is to help us come up with some ideas for web that are compatible with what we can do under existing IT policy.
Okay. Any other items you would want on the agenda?
Madam Chair, could I get next, since we got a new guy starting, Could we see a breakdown of the hierarchy of who answers to who? Okay, we got this new guy.
We have it right
Should I
here.
pass one out?
Yes, I would like to have one.
And this was approved by 3 different committees.
I
Yep.
know, I know.
Unanimously approved by this committee.
I was just changed last year, right?
August 1st
Yep.
was when it was approved.
Thank you.
Good to have a copy.
Are you-
Madam Chair, I
this is-
just have a quick comment.
Sure.
A couple of things. Dave, first of all, thank you very, very much for allowing us some help with the administration of the Facebook group. I think we have some people that are really excited about kind of reporting in their own area, and I feel like that would help you a lot, Dave. Obviously, you still have control. You can take off anything that you think is not appropriate. But I know if you're going to ASIO tomorrow, I did that chamber's strategic planning, and if you would grab Tia and just ask her yourself if she would be willing to put some stuff on there. She's a social media whiz kid, and I think it would be great to get some more news from kind of that area on it. I've reached out to her, and I think she just doesn't want to step on anybody's toes. So Dave, if you would just give her a warm welcome, I think that would be awesome. That would help for sure. And then I would love to see us get a little bit more involved again with people who do have some marketing ideas and maybe some collaboration efforts. So Dave, if you wouldn't mind putting some of us together and just grabbing up some of those ideas. I think you'd mentioned doing a bit of a meeting of some sort. That would be great.
Yeah, thanks, Lori. I'll take a look into that. I'll see if I can connect with Tia tomorrow. And it's always been my intention this winter to have what I'm sort of calling a tourism summit that would bring folks together, so.
I'd appreciate it. If you need help with that, Dave, if you need somebody to host it and sponsor it, whatever it takes, I'm happy to help.
I know where to find you, Lori.
All righty.
Thank you.
She sounds like Doreen. Her voice. Okay.
She's
any
not,
other-
she's Lori.
I know. You sound like Doreen on the thing. Any other comments, agenda items? Okay. Meeting adjourned at 8:29.
9:29.
9:29.